No questions. Question orale. The honourable member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals keep saying everything is just fine and Canadians should be thankful. How out of touch could they be? A new report from StatsCan says that over 1/3 of Canadians are experiencing financial difficulties, over a quarter couldn't cover an unexpected expense, and nearly half are worried about their ability to pay rent. This is their legacy after 8 years, and there's no one left to blame. Canadians are struggling, and instead the PMO is covering up the Prime Minister charging $6,000 a night for a hotel room. Are they kidding?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we know that many Canadians are facing real challenges. That's why our government has a plan which is both compassionate and responsible. Here's what we're doing. We have doubled the GST credit. We've provided a $500 top-up to Canadian renters. We're providing dental care to Canadian children. We are permanently eliminating the interest on student loans. And you know what, Mr. Speaker? The Conservatives voted against each one of these compassionate and necessary measures.
Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this Liberal Prime Minister, Canada feels broken, and it's not just because we say so, it's because Canadians know so. 2 out of 3 Canadians say that, according to a Leger poll. 8 years of this Prime Minister has given them record prices on rent and housing, record prices for home heating, record prices for gas and groceries. These aren't the right records. Those aren't the records we should be breaking. Will the Liberals take some responsibility for the pain that they've caused millions of Canadians, or will they just keep pretending like nothing's wrong?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's the Conservatives who need to take responsibility for their reckless and irresponsible plan for the economy. Mr. Speaker, it's the Conservatives who are saying to Canadians that crypto is a way to opt out of inflation. Mr. Speaker, it's the Conservatives who want to eviscerate the EI system that so many Canadians depend on. It's the Conservatives who want to jeopardize seniors' pensions. It's the Conservatives who voted against early learning and childcare for all Canadian children and families, Mr. Speaker.
For Thornhill.
Speaker, if they don't want to listen to Canadians that they don't know, perhaps they'll listen to Liberals that they do know. Random Liberals like Bill Morneau, who said the federal government lost the agenda, and Mark Carney, who's about to be a random Liberal, who called inflation homegrown. The call is coming from inside of the House. Will the Prime Minister finally admit what everybody knows, take some responsibility for the affordability crisis that they've created, or get out of the way so we can fix what they broke?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government absolutely understands that many Canadians today are struggling with the cost of living. And we also know that the best way to pay the rent and put groceries on the table is by having a job. And that is why our government has focused relentlessly on jobs, jobs, jobs. And that's why the January job data, when 150,000 jobs were added, is so important. That's why it's important for all of us to recognize that we have recovered 126% of the jobs lost to COVID, compared to just 112% in the United States.
Le député de Mégantic-L'Érable.
After years with this Liberal Prime Minister, Canadian situation has never been worse. Inflation for food has reached a 40-year high. People are being forced to eat less meat, fewer vegetables, and yet those are important foods for health. According to major food chains, prices are going to keep rising in 2023. Why is the Prime Minister looking down on the middle class, ignoring their pain and their hardship, instead of taking responsibility? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we understand that many Canadians are facing real hardships when it comes to affordability. That's why our government has a compassionate approach and a responsible one. And this is our plan. We doubled the GST tax credit. We added a $500 top-up for renters, and we're offering dental care to Canadian children. And the Conservatives voted against all of those measures. The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, after 8 years, what the Conservatives voted against were inflationary policies from this government, which have led to everything in this country costing more, and every family is experiencing more and more hardship. That's the reality. Students have to crowd into tiny apartments because they can't afford the rent. And they have the nerve to say that everything's going fine in Canada. Canadians are paying the price for 8 years of this government's inflationary policies. Will the Prime Minister take responsibility once and for all and finally give a little bit of hope to Canadians? The Honourable Minister for Canadian Heritage. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to money, it doesn't grow on trees, and it's not cryptocurrency that can multiply infinitely. If they get elected, they're going to cut for our students, our seniors, our families, our daycares. They're the ones who are going to cut. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. According to Chantal Hébert this morning, the Anglo-Quebec wing of the Liberal government wants nothing more than to... I didn't hear a thing. So I will ask the member to restart so that we can all hear his question, the honourable member. According to Chantal Hébert this morning, the Anglo-Quebec wing of the Liberal government wants to prorogue the House rather than pass Bill C-13 as amended by the opposition because it recognizes, imagine this, the Charter of the French language. What horror. All the work of this House should be stopped because a few West Island MPs don't want to protect French. These members don't want to protect French, not in the West Island area, not in Quebec, not in Acadia, not in the rest of Canada. Can the Prime Minister assure us that Bill C-13 won't end up on the 13th Circuit? The Honourable Minister for Official Languages. Mr. Speaker, it's the contrary. We are impatiently looking forward to passing this bill. That's why we're going forward with an ambitious bill that will make a real difference in Canadians' lives. We are the first government to recognize the importance of French throughout the entire country, including Quebec, and I'm looking forward to passing this bill that will make a real difference for all Canadians. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Well, she'll have to convince her co-workers. In the same column, it was implied that Anglo-Quebec MPs imposed the Charter of the French language, and they might go so far as to leave the Liberal Party rather than vote for C-13. Life is so hard for English speakers in Montreal. Life in Westmount and Mont-Royal is a gulag to hear them talk about it. They already speak way too much French there. There are Francophone and Acadian minority communities that are desperately waiting for C-13, but the Liberals continue to let them down so as to avoid upsetting West Island. Who's going to put those MPs in their place? The Honourable Minister of Heritage. Mr. Speaker, I invite my colleague to deal with his own caucus that has enough troubles. The Bloc Québécois doesn't want anything to do with C-13, and they've stalled the bill from the beginning. They don't support it. They're going to vote against it. I'll tell you one thing. The members for Quebec are going to stand up, defend French in Quebec and throughout the rest of Canada, no matter what the Bloc does.
Honourable député de New Westminster.
The Honourable Member for New Westminster Burnaby. Canadians are paying the highest prices in the world for telecommunication services. Rogers and Shaw, if they merge, it'll be even less competition, fewer jobs, and higher prices for people. It's not too late to stop this merger, which will only hurt Canadian families whose budgets are already very tight. Will the minister side with big companies or defend ordinary folks by blocking this merger right now? The Honourable Minister for Innovation. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague for his excellent question. We'll always be on the side of Canadians. That's exactly what I said, because the issue is to lower prices in Canada. The best way to do that is through competition. It's through having a fourth strong player in the country. I've already said no to transferring licenses for Shaw Rogers, and I'm going to look at the decision of the Federal Appeal Court in the interests of Canadians.
Transcona.
Well, Mr. Speaker, if he's ultimately going to say no to the merger, why doesn't he just come out and say it? We already know that Canadians pay among the highest prices for telecom services in the world. And we know that less competition in the market isn't going to lead to lower prices. So the answer is pretty clear. The minister's hinting at it. When is he going to do the right thing, provide some reassurance to Canadians who are already struggling with their household budgets and can't afford not to have a cell phone, and say no to the merger?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister.
Mr. President, with all due respect, I won't take much lessons from colleagues when it comes to fighting for Canadians. We do that every day on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker. Right. Fighting for Canadians. We understand that the best way we can do that, Mr. Speaker, is to make sure that we lower the price of cell phone bills in Canada, making sure that we have more competition, making sure that we have a fourth national player. Mr. Speaker, Canadians watching at home, it's Monday today. They know that we stand on their side, and we'll do everything to protect their rights and making sure that the cell phone bills will come down in Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Calgary, Forest Lawn.
After 8 years of Liberal failures, families can't afford groceries. 8 years ago, $200 went a long way at the grocery store, and today, after Liberal inflation, $150 barely gets 3 bags. Not only are the Liberals going to take more in taxes, they're going to drive up the cost of groceries when they triple their failed carbon tax. 1 in 5 Canadians are already skipping meals. Imagine how much worse things are going to get. Will the Liberal Prime Minister finally take some responsibility for causing this inflationary crisis, stop breaking Canada, and axe his failed carbon tax?
The Honourable Minister for Families.
As everyone in this House knows, as of January, fees for childcare have been reduced 50% across the country.
Exactly.
And I asked families to tell me what that means to them. So let me give you some examples. Just paid our January daycare fees, under $500. This is a 55% reduction from last year. This is going to make such a huge difference for so many families. Another quote, we are finally seeing real reductions in our daycare costs. It's genuinely life-changing to see fees reduced by just over 50%. This is how you support families. This is how you achieve real equity in the workforce. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Calgary, Forest Lawn.
Dr. Seuss over there is living in fantasy world. What the Liberal government really should be focused on is the price of corruption, like $15 billion going to Liberal insiders on cushy contracts, thousands of dollars going to ministers' besties, and thousands going to racists like Laith Maruth. Random Liberals like Bill Knowmore and Mark Carney also agree they overspent and pile-drove Canadians with inflation. Will they finally take some damn responsibility, rein in their spending, and axe their failed carbon tax?
The Honourable Minister for Families.
You know, Mr. Speaker, I actually read Dr. Seuss quite a bit with my son at night, and he has some pretty good lessons that I think the Conservatives could learn if they wanted to open up his book.
Many lessons.
In fact, you know, one of those lessons is actually about protecting our environment. When he talks about the truffula trees, it's about protecting what we have, the clean air, the clean water, making sure that we protect that for generations to come. If my opposition colleague would like to learn more, I invite him to open the books. He might have more compassion
you can read it to them.
for Canadians. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Sarnia-Lambton.
Let's skip with the fantasy. Mr. Speaker, I'm a numbers girl, so here's the numbers. 8 long years under this Prime Minister, 40-year highs in inflation, food prices 10% up, and they're going to triple the carbon tax. You know what that adds up to? 67. That's the percent of people that think Canada is broken. So will this Prime Minister take responsibility for breaking the country, or will he get out of the way and let us fix it?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My son, like tens of thousands of our kids in this country, is a huge fan of hockey. And what he likes above all is to be able to play it outside. Well, unfortunately, because of climate change, he will no longer be able to do this. This year, Mr. Speaker, for the first time in 51 years, the Rideau Canal won't be able to open.
I'm going to have to interrupt the Honourable Minister. I'm having a hard time hearing. I know there's a very strong voice coming from this here. It prevents me from hearing. I'm going to have to ask him to start over again so that I can hear his full answer. The Honourable Minister, from the top, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I was saying, my son, like tens of thousands of our kids across this country, loves to play hockey, and what he loves above all is to be able to play it outside. Well, because of climate change in this hockey-playing country, it's becoming less and less possible to do so. This year, for the first time in 51 years, the Rideau Canal is still not open and probably won't be able to open. And what is the response from the Conservative Party of Canada? Make pollution free again, Mr. Speaker. Well, no reckless policies from this reckless party on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Member for Sarnia Lambton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The reality is they've never met a single one of their emissions targets. They don't have an environment plan. They have a tax plan. And you know what, Mr. Speaker? His answer is no help at all to John in my riding. John is struggling with the rising cost of gas, groceries, and home heating. At 74 years old, on a fixed income, he's had to go back to work. And so, really, will the Prime Minister axe the tax so John can keep the heat on?
The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Less than 2 years ago, the Conservative Party took the position that climate change wasn't even real. Then last year, the leadership went through a process where they actually put together a climate plan, the centerpiece of which was a price on pollution. All of the Conservative members in this House were elected on a platform that included a price on pollution. Now, once again, under a new leader, they've stopped talking about climate change and they attack the idea of pollution pricing. Mr. Speaker, given their history, how can Canadians believe anything they say?
The Honourable Member for Central Okanagan, Similkameen Nicola.
That's a lot of hot air coming from that side. After 8 years of this Liberal government, local animal shelters are filling up because their owners can't afford to keep their pets. In the last 2 months, the Central Okanagan Food Bank has added 350 seniors who need their help. Governor Macklem said, and I quote, "High inflation is making life more difficult for Canadians, especially those with low or fixed incomes." He also said, "Inflation in Canada increasingly reflects what's happening in Canada." When will the Liberal government finally raise its deficit spending blinders and see that its out-of-control spending is making life harder for seniors?
The Honourable Minister for Seniors.
Last 8 years, we have been there supporting Canadians, including seniors, by restoring the age of eligibility for retirement back to 65, by increasing the guaranteed income supplement, Mr. Speaker, that has helped over 900,000 seniors, that has lifted 45,000 seniors out of poverty, Mr. Speaker, by enhancing the Canada Pension by making sure we're increasing the old age security pension. Mr. Speaker, all the measures that the party opposite opposed, unlike them, Mr. Speaker, will continue to make sure we have the backs of all Canadians, including seniors.
Honourable Member for Central Okanagan, Similkameen Nicola.
John and Sarnia and seniors in my riding can't eat those talking points. Now, Mr. Speaker, even Liberal wannabe leader Mark Carney, who moonlights as an advisor to the Prime Minister, knows that the Liberal government has it wrong. He knows their runaway deficit spending is inflationary. And he said, and I quote, "It's not all imported inflation. In fact, most of it is now domestically generated inflation." After 8 years of this government, residents in my riding are facing sky-high gas and propane bills and now must choose between heat, food, or their pets. If the Liberal government won't stop its spend deficits, Mr. Speaker, can they at least cancel the triple?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government will take no lessons from the Conservatives when it comes to protecting Canada's most vulnerable. Thanks to measures put in place by our government, hundreds of thousands of seniors have been lifted out of poverty and hundreds of thousands of Canadian children. And we've done that, Mr. Speaker, while maintaining Canada's AAA credit rating, while having the lowest debt and the lowest deficit in the G7. We can be compassionate and fiscally responsible at the same time. And that's what we're doing.
Hear, hear.
Le député de Lac-Saint-Jean.
Mr. Speaker, right now, at Roxham Row, there are smugglers duping migrants in order to exploit them. Unaccompanied children are wandering the woods in the middle of winter. People are being incarcerated for indefinite periods. That's Roxham Road. That's what the federal government's supporting. Asylum seeker advocacy groups are calling for the suspension of the Safe Third Country Agreement. They're the ones who should be heard, and why does the federal government refuse to hear them? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for Immigration. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before answering the question, I just want to talk about the incident that happened in my community this morning in Orleans. I want to send my thoughts and prayers to all of those being affected by it. A big thank you to first responders. And I just want to say that I'm here and I can help. As for the question, The situation at Roxham Road is a difficult one. It's not solving the problem. Canada shares the longest demilitarized border in the world. What we need to do is modernize our agreement, and that's what we're going to do. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, let's hear from those who actually defend migrants. France Andre from the Action Committee of People Without Status said that suspending the Safe Third Country Agreement must be the first action taken by the government if it wants to show that Canada is not the 51st state of the United States when it comes to welcoming refugees. And he's right. The United States is part of the problem at Roxham. Its customs officers have become smugglers. The federal government must suspend the agreement to force Washington to move. Will it do so? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, listen, I'll be very candid. In my opinion, the Bloc Québécois lost its credibility when it says that asylum seekers cross the border as though they were going for a vacation, or they think that the asylum seeker situation is a joke. It's not a joke for us. We take this situation very seriously. We will continue to protect the most vulnerable while working with provinces and territories in order to find lasting solutions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the government's trying to control the narrative around the scandal at Roxham Road, but the real scandal is that Roxham's become a network of exploitation of asylum seekers supported by American authorities. The real scandal is that Americans' custom officers have become smugglers right under the nose of the feds. The real scandal is that this government's aware of all this and accepts it. The Safe Third Country Agreement has to be suspended. It's the only way to stop the exploitation of migrants and to force the Americans to respect it. When will the federal government finally act? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage. Mr. Speaker, the real scandal is the Bloc Québécois publicity saying that welcoming refugees is akin to going on an all-inclusive vacation, and it is deeply sad. These people are leaving the country in extremely difficult conditions. They have children. They're trying to rebuild their lives. The least we can do is to welcome them with dignity and not by insulting them.
Kildonan, St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this Liberal government, violent attacks on public transit are becoming the norm. Just in the past few days, a woman had her face slashed with a knife on the TTC, and a Winnipeg Transit passenger was attacked by a man with a machete. Canadians deserve to feel safe when they ride public transit, Mr. Speaker. When will the Liberals take responsibility for these violent crime incidents and do the work to keep our communities safe?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I share my colleagues' concern, which is precisely why I've been in touch, and a number of my colleagues have been in direct contact with the City of Toronto to make sure they're getting the support they need when it comes to mental health, when it comes to homelessness, poverty, and other social determinants which lead to crime. We're also providing additional supports for law enforcement, Mr. Speaker, and at each and every critical juncture when the Conservatives have had an opportunity to support the measures, what have they done? They have voted against. If they're serious about protecting our communities, they should support the policies of this government, because that is how we are going to better do that. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Kildonan, St. Paul.
Speaker, the Liberals have had 8 years to deal with violent crime, and it's only gone up 32% in that time, Mr. Speaker. And in fact, gang murders are up 92%. In fact, everything the Liberals have done to say they're doing it for public safety has resoundingly failed Canadians, Mr. Speaker. And maybe if that minister would stop going after the tools used by sport shooters, hunters, and farmers, and instead focus his attention going after repeat violent offenders getting bail in our communities, we would see a decrease in crime. We would see results in our communities, Mr. Speaker. So when is this Liberal government going to wake up and again do the work and keep our communities safe?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are doing that work. We're doing that work by introducing a national ban on assault-style rifles, which have been used in some of the worst mass killing shootings in this country's history. We are doing that work with Bill C-21, which would raise maximum sentences against hardened gun traffickers. What is my colleague doing with regards to that bill? Her and her party have been filibustering it. They should stop doing that. They should study the bill. They should support our policies. They should also support the investments that we provided to both law enforcement and addressing the root causes of crime when it comes to the Building Safer Communities Fund. They voted against each and every one of them. They should reverse course.
Honorable député de Bellechasse, Les Échemins, Lévis.
Bon après-midi, Monsieur le Président.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. When we think of Canada, we think of a prosperous, peaceful, and safe country. Unfortunately, the situation has not been true for the last 8 years. During that time, the Prime Minister has been in office. Violent crime went up by 32%. In big cities, people, especially women, are afraid to walk alone. That's not Canada. When is this government going to act to protect victims rather than protecting criminals? The Honourable Minister for Justice. Mr. Speaker, we're reinforcing the system to support victims. We've invested significantly to protect victims in many cases. What's the best thing for victims? A legal system that works without being backlogged, that's more efficient. And that is what we're doing. We're dedicating resources to the most serious cases to reduce backlog and help victims. We'll continue in that direction while the opposition just seeks to create conflict.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are doing everything right, but they're still having to stretch their budgets to keep up with rising food costs. All the while, grocery companies are making billions. The math just isn't adding up. All parties agreed with the NDP to initiate a greedflation study, but the Liberals have continued to stand by while CEOs are raking in record profits. People want the government to hold grocery chains accountable for their role in food prices. Why have the Liberals let grocery CEOs off the hook, letting them wriggle out of their responsibilities and refusing to charge a windfall profits tax?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government absolutely believes that in Canada, everyone should pay their fair share. And that is why we introduced a 2% tax on share buybacks. Mr. Speaker, in the United States, the tax they introduced was a 1% tax on share buybacks. We've also introduced a tax on luxury yachts, cars, and planes. Mr. Speaker, we've also introduced a 15% COVID recovery dividend tax on banks and insurance companies. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, from illegal police stations to election fraud to attempts to spy in our airspace, Canadians are rightly concerned about foreign interference by the Chinese government and others. It's up to this government to defend Canadians from threats to our democracy. And right now, they're letting Canadians down by not following the lead of other nations. We need better contact points for Canadians being threatened and intimidated, more support for our institutions, and greater protections from foreign spies. When will this government stop dragging their feet and take action to protect Canadians from foreign interference and spying?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, foreign interference is a persistent, ongoing threat that we take extremely seriously, and since day one of being elected, we have implemented several measures to help the national security and protect our institutions. Things like creating the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, Critical Election Task Force, the Site Committee, which provided national security training for campaigns. Mr. Speaker, there's more to do. But on this side of the House, we've always taken national security seriously, and we've implemented measures to strengthen our democracy.
The Honourable Member for Charlottetown.
Mr. Speaker, over the past 20 years, Prince Edward Island has become an important hub in the bioscience sector, with 60 companies and more than 2,300 skilled workers now calling our province home. With leadership from the PEI Bio Alliance and investments from the province and the Government of Canada, the sector has enjoyed dynamic growth, which has diversified the economy of PEI. Last week, the minister responsible for the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency made a major announcement in Charlottetown to build on this success. Could she update the House on this fantastic news?
Great.
The Honourable Minister for Official Languages.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for his important question, but more importantly, his tireless advocacy for the bioscience sector. I was pleased to be in Charlottetown last Friday to announce an investment of more than $25 million towards the design of a construction of a bioaccelerator, a new biomanufacturing facility in Prince Edward Island. This new 75,000 square foot facility will help spur new product development, increase skills and training, and support bioscience companies in that area. Mr. Speaker, this is just one example of how ACOA continues to help communities in the economic situation in Atlantic Canada. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, military events over this weekend that we witnessed have been very interesting to all Canadians. And I've observed two things. This government shown absolutely no interest in defending Canadian sovereignty in the Arctic. Secondly, for 8 years, this government has been playing petty partisan politics in order to delay the purchase of F-35 fighter jets that are essential to our national defense. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister take responsibility for having played political games for 8 years with our military equipment? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, regardless of the threat, we have always taken action and will continue to take action quickly to protect the safety and sovereignty of Canada. In recent weeks, we've seen that NORAD is doing what it does best. Our two countries have been working together transparently to ensure the defense of our continent. We're continuing to monitor the situation and to take any other steps necessary. And Mr. Speaker, I'd like to take a moment to thank the women and men who serve NORAD. I'd like to thank them for their service. Thank you.
Member for Wellington, Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, the violations of our airspace and sovereignty over the past couple of weeks should be a wake-up call. Over the last 8 years, this government has had ample warning from our intelligence agencies and our military. And despite these warnings, Canada is vulnerable. Vulnerable because this government has failed to counter foreign interference, failed to stop funding of Beijing's military research, failed to upgrade NORAD's early warning system, and failed to acquire modern fighter jets. Does the government now understand how vulnerable this country is?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by assuring my colleague and all members in this chamber that Canada has acted and will continue to act swiftly and decisively to protect our safety and our sovereignty. Over the past week, we have seen NORAD doing what it does best, our two countries working together seamlessly to ensure continental security. We are continuing to monitor the situation. We are conducting recovery operations and will take whatever action is necessary. Mr. Speaker, I do want to take a moment to thank the women and men who serve NORAD to protect Canadians and our sovereignty every day. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
Canadians are struggling to afford to feed themselves, all the while the Prime Minister is treating himself to $6,000 per night luxury hotel rooms and having Canadians pick up the tab. And now we know that he's had his officials cover it up. After 8 years of this Prime Minister, these Liberals are out of touch and Canadians are out of money. So will the Prime Minister repay Canadians the $6,000 per night he spent on the luxury suite that Canadians had to pay for?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I can say that the government, in all things that it does, ensures that we are present in international events, that we are there for Canadians domestically and internationally. That will continue to be the case, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the members' interest in this item, but I would say that there is an opportunity right now to discuss many issues that are in front of this nation. I know they have a particular preoccupation with the Prime Minister and him personally for their own reasons, but there are major issues facing this nation right now, and I look forward to those questions.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
Okay, the media reports have told us that a former Liberal minister, Michael Chan, is on a CSIS watch list due to his ties to the Chinese Communist regime and suspected spies. Chan was hired by this Liberal trade minister to work on her campaign. This is the same trade minister that was just found guilty of breaking ethics laws. After 8 years of this Prime Minister, Canadians have come to expect that these Liberals will, of course, break ethics rules. But why is the trade minister ignoring the advice of Canada's intelligence services?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and of course the honourable member would know that all members, every single one of us, are committed to the national security of this country. Every single member in this House is concerned with the issue of foreign interference, and every single member of this House comports themselves that way. I'm sure the member would be making no assertion to the contrary.
Yes.
L'honorable député de Berthier.
The honourable member for Berthier-Maskinongé. Mr. Speaker, the next generation of farmers is under threat. Land prices have risen 248% in 10 years. And this House had adopted measures to facilitate the transfer of farms between family members with Bill C-208, but nobody's taking advantage of it because Ottawa is talking about changing the law but never actually does it. Farmers are afraid that if they sell a farm to their family, as the law allows, they will actually be taxed if the federal government changes the tax rules during the year. So can the minister confirm that farmers doing this will not be retroactively penalized? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for this question. We understand the importance of intergenerational transfers of farms. And we really want to help families pass their farms on to the next generation. We are working on doing exactly that. The Honourable Member for Berthier-Maskinongé. So to clarify, Mr. Speaker, in an article from La Presse, it says the farmers will no longer be able to own their own farmland and will be going back to the time when the seigneur owned the land. It would be hard to go back further than that. In the meantime, the federal government is still holding back on this intergenerational transfer by keeping the tax system in limbo. Can the Minister of Finance clarify once and for all her position in order to provide some reassurance to farmers and to allow the next generation of farmers to continue the work? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As my honourable colleague knows, I mean, he's very well versed in this file. The law is in place today. The tax law is being applied, and this, the transfer of agricultural land is an important issue for us. It's important in Quebec and across Canada. The Honourable Member for Charlesbourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, we know that there's something strange in the relationship between the Liberal government and McKinsey. So it's no surprise to learn that the Comptroller General of Canada, Roch Huppé, has warned his subordinates to be careful what they write about when it comes to McKinsey. So the Prime Minister is still refusing to give us any details about these contracts with McKinsey. His ministers don't seem to know what's going on, and now we have the Comptroller General who seems nervous to give any information that might be made public. What does the Prime Minister have to hide? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, it's clear that when governments deal with contracts, that's an independent process. And in every case, the highest standards are applied. That was the case here, and that will be the case in the future.
Member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
After 8 years of this Liberal Prime Minister, Canadians are struggling, but their Liberal friends at McKinsey have never had it so good. Now, McKinsey worked for ICE in the United States, where they advised the Trump administration to cut food and medical supplies for immigrant detainees. These are the same people that the Liberals then turned to for advice on immigration, even when the public service said that they could do the work themselves. So will the Prime Minister take responsibility for bringing McKinsey into our immigration system, or will he step aside so that we can fix what he broke?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the member across is an honourable member. He's been in this House for some period of time. He would know that the contracts engaged in by the public service are not to have political interference. And his suggestion just a moment ago that his government would influence the decision of that contract is extremely concerning. The reality is, has been clearly identified in committee, that this process is independent, that contracts are used to expand the ability of the public service to do its job so that it doesn't permanently increase the staffing that is there. That allows flexibility to be in the system, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Calgary, Midnapore.
After 8 years of this Liberal government, they've spent over $100 million on McKinsey & Company, and that includes $24.5 million from Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada to create policy that public servants should have created. Civil servants have even said that they created the immigration targets. McKinsey & Company did this. So why doesn't the minister just take responsibility for the mess that he created and stop giving pricey contracts to McKinsey & Company?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as I've already indicated, the contracts that are engaged in are done so at arm's length. They are conducted by the federal public service, and I'm sure the opposition isn't inferring that if they were in government that they would politically interfere, because that would be entirely inappropriate, Mr. Speaker. But what we can say is the contracts are engaged by the federal public service to expand their ability to give services to Canadians. They've tried many times to raise nefarious conspiracies at committee. I'm sorry to say they have not been successful. They won't be successful there. They won't be successful here.
The Honourable Member for Alfred Pélan. Mr. Speaker, artificial intelligence plays a key role in the future of manufacturing, agriculture, and business. Can the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry please inform the House of the steps our government is taking to fund important projects and support the artificial intelligence ecosystem in Canada? The Honourable Minister of Innovation. Well, I'd like to thank the member for Alfred Pélan for his excellent work and also his leadership, Mr. Speaker. As he said, this morning there was an important announcement. We announced $40 million for AI projects that will generate $117 million for projects across the country. Canada is showing leadership on this across the world. It will allow us to create high-quality jobs, to set up more resilient supply chains, and to permit more productivity. Canada is a leader in AI with investments like the one announced this morning, and we will continue to be a leader.
Member for Moose Jaw Lake Centre, Lenigan.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this Liberal government, everything is broken. Canadian veterans need help. Wait times are skyrocketing. Veterans are homeless. Funds for veterans in need are being withheld. Mr. Speaker, veterans took an oath to serve their country. They were ready to die for their country. Veterans with PTSD need help from their country. They are not ready to be eliminated by this government. Will the Prime Minister take responsibility for failing our heroes, or just get out of the way so we can fix what he broke?
The Honourable Minister for Veterans Affairs.
I appreciate my honourable colleague's question, but when his government was in power, they fired 1,000 employees and cut investments to Veterans Affairs. We have invested over $340 million to make sure we address the backlog. We have and will continue to make sure that veterans receive the appropriate remuneration for the great service they provide to this country. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Member for Essex.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this Liberal Prime Minister, legal firearm owners want the government to stop harassing them and target the criminals who are the real problem. Crime is up 32% and violent gang murders are up 92% after 8 years of Liberal government. The Liberal Prime Minister is responsible for the criminal code and securing the very borders that illegal guns are smuggled through. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister fix what he broke, reinforce border security, and keep the smuggled guns out of the hands of criminals?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, my honourable colleague will have seen that we are consulting with legal firearm owners. In fact, that is precisely what we have been doing throughout the course of Bill C-21, and will continue to, because we know that hunters and trappers and First Nations are part of the Canadian social fabric. More to the point, Mr. Speaker, what we are targeting are those AR-15 style guns which have been used in some of the worst mass shooting tragedies in this country's history. That's what we're after. We're also going to support our CBSA, who are stopping an increasing number of illegal firearms at our border, Mr. Speaker. That's something that I hope that my colleague would support, but in order to do that, he's actually got to vote for those appropriations, and when we do that next time, I hope he will. Thank you very much.
L'Honorable.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of Liberal incompetence, Canadians are desperately looking for home ownership that's actually affordable.
Housing prices are skyrocketing, forcing young Canadians to live with their parents much longer. Mr. Speaker, when will the Liberal government make housing affordable and the cost of living affordable for the younger generation of Canadians who have lost hope in our future because our country is broken?
The
Honourable Minister of Housing.
Opposite, we're focused on making sure that we provide supports to first-time home buyers, encouraging the dream of Canadian home ownership. $40,000 in a tax-free, first-time home buyers tax-free savings account, doubling of the first-time home buyer tax credit, introducing a $200 million rent-to-own program, and banning foreign ownership of Canadian residential real estate. Those are real, tangible measures to help first-time home buyers and not theatre and gimmicks, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Kitchener-Conestoga.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. This morning our government made a significant announcement regarding our commitment to investing in rural communities across southern Ontario, including my riding of Kitchener-Conestoga. Our government announced an investment of $39.6 million for the Community Futures Development Corporation across southern Ontario through the Community Futures program. Could the Minister responsible for Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario please inform this House on the important investments our government's making in small towns and rural communities?
For Economic Development.
I'd like to thank the member for Kitchener-Conestoga for this important question and his tireless advocacy. Rural businesses, organizations, and communities contribute significantly to strengthening the Canadian economy. Community Futures Development Corporations offer on-the-ground support that enable rural businesses to thrive. Our government is investing nearly $40 million, as the member has acknowledged, in Community Futures Development Corporations to enable them to provide the support necessary to grow regional economies. Our government is going to continue to make investments in people that lead to strong economic growth and create an economy that works for all Canadians.
The Honourable Member for North Island, Powell River.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Veterans Affairs gave $560 million to a company owned by Loblaws to deliver services for veterans. Now the contract rollout is paused for the second time. Why? Because the company wasn't ready. Veterans who gave everything to this country see their treatments on hold, services delayed, and providers confused. Will the minister admit outsourcing to a greedy for-profit company isn't working for veterans and their families and cancel the contract?
The Honourable Minister for Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my honourable colleague for the question and her concern, but this new contract will provide 14,000 veterans with over 9,000 health professionals in 600 places across this country. Absolutely no veteran will fall through the cracks. It will be completely seamless for veterans, and I can assure my colleague, the case managers, veterans, and everyone involved is completely informed all the way along on these contracts. They're a great asset for veterans, and we will continue to support veterans in this government. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In his State of the Union address, President Joe Biden called out big oil for their excess profits, which he called outrageous, and pledged to quadruple the tax on corporate stock buybacks. Frankly, that's not enough. The Secretary General of the United Nations has called such profits immoral. In Canada, the 10 biggest oil and gas companies amassed more than $66 billion in profits in 1 year, and that is more than double what they had in the previous decade. Can the Honourable Minister tell us when will Canada tax back the excess profits of these war profiteers?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
I'd like to thank the member for Saanich Gulf Island. Question. It is always a pleasure to work with her. And I'm very glad to hear her talking about President Biden's comments on the share buyback tax and his view that he would like to see that tax, currently at 1% in the United States, quadrupled. The fact is, in Canada, we introduced that tax at 2%. Double the current U.S. level, because we absolutely believe it is appropriate for our tax system to encourage Canadian companies to invest in workers, to invest in the economy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm afraid that's all the time we have for question period today. C'est tout le temps que nous avons.
That's all the time we have today.
It being 3:07, pursuant to the order made on Thursday, June 23rd, 2022, the House will now proceed to the